Everyone online, good morning. This is Lighthouse Lagos, Nigeria. We are so excited to have you in our service today. Any need for a prayer request or any questions, just type in the chat box. We will respond to you. This morning, we're having Q&A. We ran a series on the kingdom wealth, and we're just tying it up this morning. We are so privileged to have with us in the service again this morning, Mr. Segun Akintoye. He's the Vice President, Clearing Risk Management, FMDQ Clear Limited. Mr. Akintoye is the head, Clearing Risk Management, comprising two groups, Collateral Management and Member Management at FMDQ Clear Limited, a subsidiary of FMDQ Group PLC. He has built his career in the last 13 years across asset management, consulting, data analysis within various organizations, including Diamond Securities Limited and FDHL Group. Husband of one wife and two kids, a man of the spirit, a man who is sensitive. So with all these natural qualifications, is also a man of the spirit. With Jesus' joy again, can we just rise? Let's honor this gift of God. Let's receive Mr. Segun Akintoye as he comes up this morning.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Hello, good morning, brethren. Can you hear me? Brilliant. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma. I do not take this privilege for granted. If anything, I'm excited to be here. The opportunity in this time, in this season, and being given this platform to just speak and share with you, I do not take it for granted. I'm very grateful. When I saw Mommy this morning, I was like, okay, I need to. The good thing is that Pastor Ayo Daniels has already gotten someone from our family, so he can't go back or send any of his brothers, but I haven't. And since I am married, I need to come and meet you, ma, to get one of your sisters, nieces, or someone within your family who has to be bearing Akintoye. Now or later in the future. I can see the result. And you look beautiful this morning, ma. All right, please have a seat. Okay, the slides, please. Okay, all right, brilliant. At the last session, we talked about financial intelligence, and we looked at the reasons why you should be financially intelligent. We talked about the benefits of it thereof. We also talked about the vision or the mandate that you have as a man and as a woman. We also spent some time to dimension why it is super important that you pay attention to these things now to avoid stories that touch. We also dwelt on the fact that, look, you need to pay attention to the resources or the structures you are building now, because when you move on or when you pass on, the people you call friends and families, for one reason or the other, genuine or otherwise, they will most likely not be around for the people you leave behind. But let's talk about the more present things now. We're in very interesting times. Very, very interesting times. So let's go down the path of gloom to just talk about these interesting times we're in. Then we'll come back to the other side. By the way, the last time I was here, I told you that I was wearing a native attire so that you know that these things are common, these ideas are common to everyone. It's not about me being in the financial industry for so long. But today I elected to wear a suit because I feel that you need to think that I have the expertise to communicate. Because you know how it is when things are not looking as you expect them to be. You want to look up to who know road. Yeah? You want to look up to someone that you think understands what he's doing, especially in times like this. So I've elected to wear a suit. But the tie is missing because I'm also a common man like you as well. So don't be deceived with the suit. Many of the things I'll be sharing today you already know. But let's talk about the challenges we're in right now. And I refuse to call them problems because I believe challenges can be solved and they can be surmounted. Inflation rate is at 22.8%, 22.79 I think. That's the official figure. But the inflation that has hit your pocket as individuals is probably in the region of 50 or more percent. If you have kids, I can tell you for free, the school has increased school fees. If you've not gotten the teller, ask for it now, because in September, you will pay. If you rent a building, the landlord will increase the rent. If you've not paid already, call him and pay extra if you can afford it. But be rest assured, the rent is going to go up. Transport is a no-brainer. That has happened to all of us. So inflation is high. Dollars is at 870, 880, depending on who you speak to. And the reality is this. In an economy where everything is imported, the only thing not imported in this room right now is you and I as individuals. And perhaps if you have a bottle of water, it's probably gotten in Nigeria. And perhaps it may be imported as well. What that means is that every single thing depends on the dollar. So when the dollar goes up, you should be concerned. Or rather, when the naira depreciates, you should be concerned. Then as well, the big one, petrol, PMS. Price has gone to between 580 and 620, depending on where you buy from. And here is over 620 in some areas. So it depends on where you're buying from at any point in time. Now these are very disturbing numbers. And in the case of housing and food, everything that is common to man, as far as we are concerned, prices will most likely have gone up. At the minimum, 10%. At the minimum. Some of the items you are aware, you use today have already been adjusted. They were not at the official exchange rate of 470, 450 back in 2 months ago. They were already at about 750 because everyone was buying from the parallel market. But it seems that the government has woken up to reality, because then it appeared the only person that was foolish looked as if it was the government. And perhaps, I won't say it because I work in an institution owned by the central bank. So I won't say the central bank was foolish, but the reality is that opportunities were being had, arbitrage opportunities, or what we call not working but making money, were being had because of those policies. But these things have changed. Are they in the right direction? I fear I must tell you that the answer is yes. And let me put it in perspective for you. It's not only the Nigerian economy that is now in a nutshell, or is tough, things are tough because of this decision. Niger, Benin, Cameroon, and guess what? European countries. How? It turned out that the largest supply of refined products for European refineries was West Africa. West Africa accounted for a big chunk of their revenues, and now they are worried. And the reason was simple. Supply Nigeria, Nigeria will supply the other 3 countries surrounding them, including Togo, now 4. So Nigeria was subsidizing not for us, but we're subsidizing for other countries as well. And people were just making funny money up and down the places. So is this the right thing? The answer is yes. Why is it impacting you and I? That's what matters. School fees is high, house rent is going up, every other thing is going up. But there are upsides. There's no more traffic. Then many of us have now been told to work from home. Some of us have businesses that cannot afford for your staff to work from home. And you've been forced to increase salaries or start paying some compensation for the increase in prices of transport for your staff. These are real impacts. And they impact your pocket. But as Christians, the next question is this. In other words, we've never seen this. This is new. This is strange. This is a catastrophe. It's a lie. It has happened over and over and over and over again. If you think Nigeria is going through a crisis right now, try Ghana. Nigeria has not defaulted on a single debt, in theory. But Ghana has defaulted over and over and over again. And the cardinal sin in finance is when you default as a sovereign state on your obligation. This week, Ghana had to write off over $8 billion of borrowings from the CBN. What does this mean? It means that the government went to CBN, give me money, CBN printed. Then, a few years down the line, you say, you know those debts, write it down to zero. What that means is that if you think that the Ghana cedi has deteriorated in value, watch what is going to happen in the next couple of weeks. There was a time in Russia when you take the Russian ruble, that's their currency, and people were using it during winter, you pour it into the fire. So if you think Nigeria is going through tough times, trust me, it's not that bad. Now, how do you as Christians, and I love the songs that were played during worship today, they connected with me. Listen, if you're dependent on the Nigerian economy as a Christian, I think you need to have another perspective to it. I'm never scared. I'm never worried. Because I know in the midst of the challenges, therein sit the opportunities. You only need to look. Let the Spirit of God open your eyes to see. You experienced COVID in Nigeria. Everyone, yeah? Yes, sir. I'm sure you are aware that billionaires, genuine billionaires, were born during COVID period. It sounds strange to you. Okay, I didn't make billions, but my family did well during COVID. And trust me, when I hear other people's story, I'm like, what? So I give you examples. I know a gentleman, I think his name is Dan James. He supplies safety equipment and the likes. And during COVID, he told me he pivoted into supplying face masks and all of that. He saw it before every other person saw it. And he had a significant stock, and he supplied to different places and made some good money. That was the first time he built his house. He was in his 40s, or he is in his 40s. And I'm saying these opportunities abound even in this period. But before we go there, let's talk about the Bible times. I'll just quickly dwell on this in another 10 minutes, then we take questions. So it's never happened before. You remember the story of Joseph? And his famine management system. Do you recall? Famine was coming. We all knew that dollars was going to go. Tell me you didn't know. We are not Joseph the dreamer, no. Everybody in this room, you knew that this, what we're running in this country was not sustainable and it was going to give at some point. We all knew. Let's say. So what did Joseph do? He knew that there was going to be another 7 years of wealth before another 7 years of famine. And what did he do? He started growing crops, harvesting, storing, growing more than they needed. Another example is, and when the famine arrived, guess what? Even his father, the grandson of Abraham, beloved of God, did not have food. They had to travel to Egypt to go and get what? To go and get food. Do you think prices of food as at that time was 50% higher? Do you think so? Inflation is 25%. I can only imagine how much price of food went as at that time. So it's never happened before. It's not true. The widow. So Joseph was Genesis 41 to 47. The widow that Elisha provided, that Elisha asked to gather the pots. They only had oil, a small quantity. What do you have? Was what the prophet asked. I only have a jar of oil. Go and gather all the pots that you can muster. Go and borrow if you have to. I'm sure if it is in this season, you ask someone, what do you have? Oil. He will go to the neighbor's tank, the GP tank or the water storage tank, and borrow it and bring it so that the oil can be filled. But she had something. Also, the parable of the talent. That's on Matthew 25, 14 to 30. 3 servants giving different things giving talents. And 2 of them had good stewardship of that talent. And they grew the talent. In other words, even in difficult times, there are opportunities in front of you. And you have to start with what you have. What do you have? And then there's the widow's offering. And this, I'm going to dwell on this a little bit because it's super important. And it might be the secret to everything else. In the little that you think is not enough, what you have in your hands. You know how it is that you have one single private jet and you say it's not enough. And someone else is, if only I have that private jet. But that person has 2 cars. And that person is like, if only I had 1 car. And someone else is, if only I can have a bicycle. You have too much. Even in these challenging times. And I say it with clarity of mind. You are sitting on too much. In these challenging times, it's either you have an expense problem, or you have a revenue problem, or challenge, or you have both. One, I can advise you on how to fix. The other, you have to find it within yourself to fix. Now, the widow, with the little that she had, she gave. And Jesus said, there is more to this woman than those that have even given more, compared with relative to what she has. So you need to understand what you have. First of all, you need to even know what you have before you understand what you have, and then the wisdom of how to apply it. And finally, before we go into the actual questions and answers, even in these challenging times, the principles are the same. They don't change. If you squeeze a towel, a dry towel, even in raining season, if you squeeze a dry towel, nothing will come out. But if you have a wet towel, whether it's 100 degrees Celsius out there, you squeeze it, water will come out. So the principles remain the same, whether in good season or bad season, challenging times or good times, it doesn't matter. And what are these principles from our last session? 1, budgeting. 2, this is a tough one, investing. Segun, how can you talk about investing when we're saying that the economy is tough? 3, debt management. Perhaps these are times when you really need to think about the loans that you're sitting on or the debts you're holding and decide whether you should pay them off quickly or not. Interest rates are likely to keep going up. And finally, financial planning. Having said that, so that I can guide some of the questions we'll be asking, let me quickly mention this in the next 1 minute. If you're sitting on so much resources, or this so-called resource that you think is not enough, what are the opportunities out there? I'll try and touch on some of them that I think, but you know better because you know your circumstances, the things you're exposed to and all of them. In this season, we will need to evaluate again if your children are going to the right schools. And this is the best time to check. Because this is the long season holiday. You don't want to take a child out of a school in between school terms. You need to check. My wife and I, we had a conversation. We were like, she drives an Highlander. So I said, look, this Highlander, V6 engine, 3.5 liters, are you sure it's the right car for you? No, practical. These are practical times. And I was joking with some of my colleagues, which of you need a Highlander and will give you a Toyota Corolla? It's the reality. Then we called the mechanic and said, it seems the catalytic converter in this car is missing. We've been aware it was missing for a while. But we decided, look, this is the time to fix it. So I don't want to come to you with high-level concept of how to survive in these times. Let's face the reality. Some of us will need to tighten our belts. If you own a building and you have tenants that pay you rent, if you've not issued them notice that you'll be increasing rent, I think this is the time you should quickly do it. No, it's the reality. The cost of building that same structure you have has increased almost 50%. It's the reality. So let's talk about the expense side, which is what? Hey, you need to tighten your belt. Any loose string you have, take care of it. But let's also talk about the revenue side, which is what? Your sources of income, you need to expand them. If you're a salary earner and all you collect is 13 payments a year, including 13th month or bonuses, hey, you have a challenge. If you do not have mutual funds that you've invested in as of today, there's a challenge. If all you have is savings account after the previous session, then there is a challenge. You don't have an economic problem. You have a huge challenge. I'm sorry, we have to be very, very realistic and we have to say it for what it is. So if your revenue streams, they need to be expanded. And what are these resources I was talking about that you have? You as an individual, you're a talent in whatever that you do. Whatever it is that you do, you'll be surprised the number of people that are willing to pay top dollars to get what you can do. My wife was speaking to someone recently. She wanted a new website that looked as this, can do this, can do this, can do that. Initially, the guy said, the fee is $1 million. Then by the time she finished dumping all the brain ideas she had, or what we call brainwave. The guy came back with a fee of 5.1 million in this time to build a website. A week ago, that guy wasn't thinking about that job. He wasn't. And I'm saying many of you here have those talents. It could be digital marketing, it could be HR, it could be organizing things. There's a lady that makes so much money from just coming to your house to arrange your house for you. Not to talk of warehouses. So beyond the expense side, you need to fix the revenue side as well. Your income. And then finally, kingdom investment. There is no better time than now to invest in the kingdom. I was asking Pastor Benga, have you bought the generator? He said yes. I said, what is the next project? He said, a screen. I said, brilliant. I didn't tell him that, but in my mind I was like, brilliant. First of all, and I told you the last time I was there, the presence of God in this place is strong. And when you land on a fertile ground, do you think about sowing? Do you think about it? You know this ground is fertile. You've gotten all the agricultural tests and soil sampling, and you know. Me, I know. I just asked them about an hour ago. So that screen will partake of it. That is me. And I think you should too. I know this place is fertile. Let's leave it at that. Father, in the name of Jesus, I ask that you speak to your people. Let the responses will be provided to them not be of me, but of you. Teach us to say the right thing at the right time to the right people in the name of Jesus. All right, questions time.
Okay, if you have a question, please, do we have sheet of paper? We actually provided a link. We didn't get that. So, if you're online, please, you can drop the question online so that we can. Someone is asking, at this critical time, what form of investment is the best? And is it wise to hold your money in Naira denominated?
I work in a very sensitive organization, so I can't be advocating holding foreign currency. But the reality as individuals, you should have something in foreign currency. You should. It's common sense. Yeah? It's common sense. If you haven't already, you should. But that doesn't mean that you should not transfer all of your wealth to foreign currency. Hey, it's your choice, but it's the reality. Now, in terms of investments, typically during challenging periods, people run towards what they know or what they can see, otherwise known as real estate. So when things become tough, where are you guys keeping money now? I don't want to hear stories of this small money that I have. You now want to now tell me that when you put it there, you'll get this. No. Let me buy something I can see with my eyes. That's been some of the trends. What I typically advise is invest if you do not know how equities market work. And by the way, just to quickly mention, are you aware that the equities market is thriving? Have you heard of it? Since the foothold on currencies was removed by the central bank, currency market took flight. Equities market took flight. It's doing very well now. And the companies themselves, not just so much of people are buying the shares, no, the companies themselves are doing very, very well. And you say, in this tough time, I tell you again, you need to sit down and pray that God should open your eyes to see the opportunities that we are in right now. Trust me when I tell you that I'm not worried at all. Yeah? So investments, if you're not good in it, if you do not understand the equities, please just go and maintain a fixed income investment, which is your mutual funds, or if you can invest directly, treasury bills, bonds, be careful. Monies that you will need in a very short period of time, don't invest it in bonds. But if it's just money that you can put aside for a period of time, whether short or long, just take a money market mutual fund and invest in it. If you're not conversant with equities or other investments. But primarily, please consider diversifying your investment portfolios.
Maybe you want to touch on the real estate a bit.
Okay. Real estate, when it comes to real estate, again, you have to be careful. You have to be conscious of the fact that this is one sector where documentation is pretty challenging. You can finish a financial investment in minutes. Within the time it will take me to conclude this session, you can open a mutual fund account right here in church, and you can move your money into that account, and you get your account statement, everything right there within 30 minutes. It's done. When it comes to real estate, you can't conclude it in weeks. You can't finish a real estate investment in Nigeria within 1 week. It's tough. For you to do your due diligence, visit the place, know the location, confirm that the ownership belongs to them, and belongs to the person selling it to you, and all of that is tough. Also, there are investment vehicles that are, okay, another way to gain exposure to real estate investment is to invest in a company that does real estate. So if you have a company that primarily invests in real estate and you have a small amount, you can't invest directly yourself, you can buy that company that invests in real estate. And be careful of Ponzi schemes, please. People that tell you invest in real estate and get at 5% in 1 year, it's a lie. Bottom line. It's not sustainable. That's not how real estate works. That 5% in a year consistently is not possible. It's not sustainable. You can have it in some years, other years will not move so fast. Yeah?
Okay. Sorry. What's the difference between a mutual fund and an equity fund? Which is more profitable and viable? I will appreciate as much details as possible.
Okay.
I think the terminologies is what we need to break down.
Sorry about the jargon. A mutual fund in its simple form is like a collective investment scheme. We come together, or rather, an asset manager pools investment from different individuals and then invests it on their behalf, and he gets a fee, typically between 0.5 and maybe 2% of the asset, of the total size of the asset. He invests it on your behalf, and whatever income that is earned on it, pays it to all of the people that invested in the fund. So it's similar to what you call a job. The only difference with mutual funds is that there's no monthly payout or periodic payout. Is whenever you need your money, you collect it. And then it's under a regulated industry, regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So typically you will have instances where the fund will then define what kind of investments they will put your money into. And many asset managers will have different funds speaking to different investments. Some people don't like equities because you can lose 99% of your money. That's the reality of that investment. And so equity funds will only invest in equities. So if you don't like equity funds, so the equity fund we were speaking to earlier is a type of a mutual fund. So if you don't like equity funds, then you go into fixed income, or you go into one that has balance. They call it balanced funds. They have a little bit of equities and a little bit of fixed income. Fixed income funds are those funds that invest in fixed interest yielding investments, bonds, treasury bills, commercial papers, fixed deposits, and the likes. Equities will invest in shares of publicly listed companies. And there are more exotic funds that has to do with venture capital and the likes. That is investments in companies that are not yet, that are very young in their life cycle, in their maturity cycle.
Okay. Thank you, Segun. Okay, before I read the next question, do we have anybody physically present here that want to ask a question? Can you? Huh? Okay. You've written it. Okay, I need to get them ASAP. So like, okay, you have a question.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Segun. So there's a lot going on in my head. You said something about the federal government being in the right direction. But one thing that puzzles me a lot is common sense is very, very difficult to implement in Nigeria. The oil and gas industry, for many years, a whole lot of people have been clamoring for the removal of this subsidy. Now we started removing, subsidy has been removed. What are they actually doing in terms of the savings and the investments? What do I mean? If we invest a lot in building either modular refineries or new set of refineries in this country, there are lots of things that the ripple effects will trickle down into the economy. From fertilizer production in itself that we can push into the farming to boost what's it called agriculture, that we now intend to export from commodities either as raw or made or finished products. There's that angle, but we are not doing all of that. The path to prosperity for all right now is what I'm not seeing that the federal government is communicating to Nigerians. Because if you are saving a whole lot from subsidy, where exactly are you pushing that money? That's one. Then another is, there's a whole lot of things that, a whole lot of people, policymakers and investment people have said about the Dangote refinery coming to solve our problems. Personally, I don't think that even has 1% of solutions to what Nigeria's problems are in terms of investment in that sector. And because the guy in himself is indebted to his investors, and that refinery, so to speak, is going to be paying back the investment in dollars. And he's not even obligated to sell the products that is being refined in Nigeria to the Nigerian market because of the current realities that we have in here. So how exactly are we as Nigerians going to even benefit from that? Because even recently in the news, the guy is meant to hire about, I think, 11,000 Indians for jobs that are supposed to be provided for Nigerians, to provide prosperity for Nigerians. And at the end of the day, we are saying he's coming to solve a problem. Is it rather solving the problem or creating more problems for us?
Okay. All right. I'll take it one after the other. The first question is around savings, and I will avoid being political. I'm not interested really. So around savings. So you need to understand where Nigeria is right now. Where we are today. If we continue on this path before subsidy. Last year we spent $8 billion on subsidy. Nigeria has a quota of, I think, 1.8 million barrels per day of crude oil production. We currently only use 1.2 up until May 29, and within 1 month of the new administration coming, it has gone to 1.3 million barrels per day. So we have endemic problems. We have challenges that needs to be resolved politically. But as a nation, the savings we're going to make from here. So we have a revenue problem in Nigeria. We have both revenue and expense problem in this country. We all know. So we don't have enough money, then we are spending it on lifestyle. How many of you drive your car alone to work? You are the only person in your car. Or maybe you and your driver. We all do. Yeah? We all do. You go to other countries, you rarely see that. We are all in metro. Even some of the politicians and high net worth individuals like yourself, we meet on metro in the UK, isn't it? Yeah? Recently, I was driving to VI and I noticed that I could barely count 10 cars that had only one passenger in the car. We're beginning to face reality. The government of Nigeria has been subsidizing our lifestyle. Let's call it what it is. Where will these savings go to? You cannot control. I'm not the president. You are not the president. You are not a politician. You can't control. Yeah? But the reality is this. Nigeria will have a lot more. $8 billion times, that's Trillions of naira that Nigeria will have available to it to apply to other areas of life. The current government, I will not speak for them, but they have a track record of spending on projects. The projects may be inflated, hey, I'm not speaking for them, but if their historical record is one to go by, I think those monies may find better applications than subsidizing fuel for Benin, Togo, and Niger. No. That doesn't work. So in terms of savings, yes, Nigeria will save a lot of money, but really, how it's going to be applied, again, it's outside our control. Now, in terms of the Dangote refinery, if you follow the dots of how Nigeria works, or how any economy works, you will understand the reason why we need Dangote refinery, or any other refinery to work. It's not so much of the supply of PMS from that refinery. It's the fact that we do not need to convert Naira to dollars to buy PMS. And PMS accounts for about 35%, white products, or the refined products, account for 35% of our dollar needs in Nigeria. So if we no longer need to convert Naira to dollars to buy refined products, it means that other areas of the economy, other more productive areas of the economy can utilize the more available dollars now to attend to other things. So that is why any refinery, be it Dangote or any other one, is needed. Now, you are 100% right that Dangote is a businessman. He's not a philanthropist. Well, he is one, but maybe he's not to that extent of just running his refinery to support Nigeria. But the reality is this. Where will it be easier for him to sell his production? Is it to export it to another country? Or right here where he is, there's a demand. He can easily sell it in. And he can collect Naira, or may also choose to collect dollars. But it can be on negotiated terms. Again, remember, the government now owns 20% of that refinery. Yeah? So the most important part of that venture for us as Nigerians, why Nigeria should be interested, is the fact that the pressure on the currency will reduce. And that will be a lot and a lot of savings.
Well, thank you.
Outside that, any other political angle to it, please, I think you should just ignore it.
Okay. Quite a lot here, so let's just take it. The inflation rate has increased. The interest rate on loans will also increase. Shouldn't interest rates on investments, such as mutual fund and treasury, be also increase?
Yes, and it has increased. It's been increasing. The transition for that increase may not be very smooth, or it may not be symmetrical, but it is increasing. Yeah? So we've started seeing increase on mutual fund investments begin to rise, especially those that have exposures to corporate entities, or those that have fixed income loans of corporate entities as part of their investment. It's also increasing as well.
I think this is a bit of financial education here. A lot of people are new to all this and do not know where to start. Would you advise using apps to invest? And if you do, what app?
Thank you, sir. Be very, very careful.
Be careful.
Yes. Be very, very careful about apps. Do you know what it takes to have an app online? I can set up an app in 1 week and ask you for your money. It's so easy to swindle people out of their money now, especially for those that are looking for special income. Again, especially in these tough times. And I want to quickly mention this. Gambling is not investment. Please, I think it's important, and let's not kid ourselves. 2 institutions that reviewed the websites that their staff, these are large institutions, publicly listed companies, that reviewed the websites that their staff visits the most. Guess what sites are these? Huh? Bet Nigeria and the likes, all those betting companies, where some of them bet on algorithm, not, there are funny things people bet on nowadays. So please, it's not an investment. I thought I should mention it. The rates, it's becoming a crisis in case you are not aware. It's becoming a crisis in Nigeria. It's the next worst thing after drugs. I'm tempted to say that it is worse than drugs now in Nigeria. People are gambling a lot. And the reality is, during tough economic times, people gamble and do Ponzi schemes. Yeah. It's a globally set phenomenon. But don't fall for it. Now, in terms of apps, if you use the app of a bank or of a regulated entity, it's understandable. The app is just another medium of engaging with that institution. So if I bank with Bank A and I go and use the app of Bank A, there's nothing wrong with that. But a funny guy that you look at his address is number 98, number 1052, Kudirat Abiola Way, when the way ends at 110. What license? This is a company registered under the CAC, Corporate Affairs Commission. Every company in Nigeria is registered under CAC. So that I'm registered under CAC does not make me and validate me as an entity to manage your money. Do you understand? And then you see funny entities called investment clubs. In other words, just be careful. Using app is not the problem. Validating who owns the app is where the problem is. So some of those companies are not real. All they do is that they have ability to design an app. And if you know how apps are designed nowadays, there are artificial intelligence to create apps for you now. So you don't even need to employ someone to do it. Yeah? And you have the app running and start making money. It's as simple as that. Or start collecting people's money, not making money. Start collecting people's money. Yeah? So please pay attention to the company. You need to know the company first before you use their app. And then I've been seeing a lot of microfinance banks running apps online and asking you to come and invest and offer you interest rates. Be careful. Microfinance banks do not have the governance structure nor the investment structure as detailed, or the risk management structure as detailed as regular commercial banks. I'm not saying they are bad, I'm only saying be careful. I know a couple of people that just come together and just, to set, I think it's 25 million naira if I'm correct, or 250 million to have a microfinance bank license. And once you can attach an app to it, so what a couple of people have done that launched the app before they had the license, when people started shouting and all of that, they went to go and get microfinance bank license. And it's so easy to get. It's so cheap to get, rather. So you need to be careful. I'm not saying they're bad, I'm only saying be careful.
Okay. What is your take on investing in education instead of financial instrument or asset, especially for a forward-thinking professional?
Brilliant. Brilliant. But you need to weigh it relative to your goals.
Okay.
What goals have you set for yourself, and what benefit do you think that education will deliver to you? Yeah? So, enriching yourself and your capacity to earn, or increasing your capacity to earn, is also an investment. So when I was speaking earlier to the fact that you are sitting on resources, or too much resources, I was also referring to you as individuals. There are many of us here, you have the skill set that you have is super, super important. You only need to find where it is in demand. Okay, I'll give you an instance. Are you aware that being a good husband is a skill? Not to mention being a good wife. The skill to being a good wife, the capacity to being a good wife, is what no man can measure up to. Whether you have it innate or you acquire it, I don't know how, but the multitasking capability of a woman is out of this world. The number of things you fragment in your brain and still manage them concurrently is a skill set that is in demand every day. I give you an example of a woman that all she does is come to your house and rearranges your house. And they pay top dollar to her. Interior designers in Nigeria are making a kill right now. Okay, I give you an example of an opportunity that you should possibly look into. You realize because of these economic times, a lot of professionals are now working from home. Many of these professionals then realize that when they need to communicate with their colleagues, they have to use communication platforms like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and the likes. Yes? Have you realized that people have started upgrading the backgrounds in their houses? Have you noticed? Those that do not realize that you can have a virtual background, many of them start looking for background. But the reality is that this is now creating opportunities for interior designers that then realize that they need to now have houses, things you've ignored in the house before. You start doing them. That door that is always squeaking when someone opens it. You don't want to be on a virtual call talking to one of your colleagues, and whenever they open the door is squeaking. So what do? You fix it. What you do not realize, or some of you may realize if you're in that business line, is that the building real estate sector, whenever there is a work at home or people are encouraged to work at home, the real estate sector thrives. Especially those that make inputs into it, electrical parts, plumbing parts, all of those things, it thrives. Because you're beginning to use your house more than you actually would have if you were going to work. If you're going to work, you only have Saturday and Sunday. The other days, you are just a night guest. Hotel is what you are running during weekdays. But now that you are working from home, you use your kitchen more frequently, you use every aspect of your home more frequently than you would have before. So all of the resources to support that is in demand. If you run a business now, by now, you should only earn salaries from your business. If you are only earning salaries and payouts in form of dividends for yourself, then what it means is that by now you are also doing what? You also you need to begin to look into your business and say, look, if this aspect of my business is challenged revenue-wise, how can we pivot? What other aspects can we consider? I had a conversation recently, and a gentleman said in Abuja they are paying 15,000 naira to do a job that in Lagos they pay 2,000 naira. I'm telling you reality, and he pays millions of naira for that job. Many times the difference is information. If you have the information that is required, you will thrive, and you will have multiple streams of income easily. But the hard work is in getting that information. And the people that know, they know. So I need you to be in a frame of mind. Are there any other questions before I round up? Yes.
We can just, I'm just trying to look at how to prepare them. So let me read them so that I have a good sense of problem solving skill and multitasking. How do you advise the above be used in marketplace to generate revenue? Okay, this is simple. Most business owners are into their business and they have blind spot towards investment. Would you advise employing the service of a financial or business advisor?
Can I answer those two quickly so that I don't lose it? Because I don't have a pen here. You have a multitasking skill and you're good with solving problems. Go online. Go online and begin to look into freelancing. Freelancing, there are a number of them. Fiverr, Freelancer, Upwork, there are a number of them. Go online, look into them, and as little as Instagram. I'm not advertising for these platforms. I'm just telling you platforms that you can leverage. And many of them are free. If you are good with solving problems, you can't be good in solving all the problems. You must have some problems that you're good in solving. Yeah? And if your skill set is to identify, it's not really solving the problem, it's to criticize the problem and go and look for solutions. That is another skill set. That's different from solving the problem. I have a colleague at work that we miss now, and I think she's on maternity. And if you bring an idea to her, she will not prefer a solution. She may not prefer, no, at times she does, but she may not prefer. But the reality is this: by the time she's done criticizing your problem, when you go to present it to public, be rest assured there's no question that she has not asked you. So you are more than prepared for the public. Do you understand? That is the skill set, and you can monetize. The second question was around
people that have business enterprise.
Yes, if you have businesses, you may not have capital that you want to invest in other things. Yes, I understand with you clearly. You then need to look for opportunities in your business to pivot. You need to leverage the opportunities in your business. I give you an example. If you sell equipment.
The question is, I run a business.
Yeah.
I want to say I don't have time for all these.
Okay. Should you get an advisor?
A financial advisor, or yeah.
Yes. The answer to that is yes. It's a simple answer. Is yes. You should get someone that is skilled. The way, if I'm going to do something in your business, I'm better off speaking to you. And please take this mentality of that you save money by not getting experts to do the job. The experts, most often than not, they are what the amounts you are going to pay to them. In other words, if you get someone that is skilled in a particular aspect of life to do that thing for you, what you would have lost would be multiples of what you would have paid that expert. You find it very common in real estate, where you get people to build houses and they do not realize the land they are building the house on is different from Yaba. The Yaba version is different from Ikeja version, is different from Lekki version, and all of that. So what then happens is, if you get someone that has been used to building houses on the mainland, when it gets to the island or the Lekki Peninsula, is going to struggle. Otherwise, it's going to, or better still, you build a house that is going to sink after a period of time. Yeah? So all of these things are what most often than not, experts are what their weight in gold.
So I read these two because they tie together. Since the pressure on getting dollar has reduced, as we do not have to pay subsidy, which is 35% of the dollar requirement, do you think the value of naira to the dollar will improve? That's one. Someone said, I think in response to the Dangote stuff, I am expecting more foreign FDI, more foreign direct investment and portfolio investment coming into Nigeria as a result of the new deviation of the administration. If Dangote refinery commences operation and pressure on dollar reduces with the supply of dollar from FDI and PI, is it still wise to hold funds in dollars?
I'll ask you a simple question. Let me quickly answer that before we go to the other one. I'll ask you a quick question. 10 years from now, do you think that so we said the dollar is at 870. 10 years from now, will it be at 870? It will be higher or lower? It will be above 870. My intention was not to, my intention wasn't to cause confusion, or just think about it. Just think about it. Yeah? The second question was around
foreign direct investment.
Foreign direct investments, FPIs, and all of that. The reality is this: there is even with the removal of subsidy and then the removal of controls in the FX market, what many people would have expected is that FX will stabilize. And it stabilized for a while people are trying to still understand everything. But the demand is still there. The reality is this: we import every single thing we consume in this country. That's the challenge. And until that is fixed, we can't really truly get the benefit of the removal subsidy and all of that. So, in other words, it will help. If FDIs, what he calls FDIs are foreign direct investments, those are people that come in and actually invest in physical assets, things that produce in the country. If they come in, yes, it will help, and they start producing some of the things we import. But one thing you shouldn't take away from is the fact that as long as we keep on requiring so much in imports, we'll keep on having this challenge. And the likelihood is this: our demand for dollars will outstrip our income in dollars.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, please let me quickly mention something. Again, many of you have been talking about Dangote Refinery. And you can focus on the challenges or the problems or the circumstances of Dangote Refinery. But let me open your eyes to something. Well, the obvious one is that everybody is building houses, buying property near Dangote Refinery. But that's like knowing that there's a plot that has gold in it, and rather than buy the plot that has the gold, or position yourself to reap the benefit of the gold, you are investing in the houses and the real estate around the gold. Look into refineries. PMS, petrol, diesel, AGO, that's the diesel, and what's the kerosene? DPK, I think they call it. And then the aviation fuel. They're just a fraction of what you get in a single barrel of crude oil. Vaseline, paint, every single industrial complex, in some jurisdiction, even drugs that we digest, need refineries to function. Have you started positioning yourself for it? The real estate is good. The gold is the refinery. If you have an idea of the size, my time is up. If you have an idea of the size of chemicals that come out of refineries, the size of that market is equally almost as big as the market for those white products. I repeat, the size of the market for white products, which are all these 4 products we've called, is equally as big as the waste that comes out from that. Are you aware? If you are not aware, start doing your research. And brethren, please leverage the church. The church has talents in different things. During the time of the apostles, the church worked together as a community. This doesn't mean that if someone is lazy, you should entertain him. This doesn't mean that if someone is not trustworthy, even within the church, you should entertain him. Support one another. Leverage the talents that are within here. You know about chemicals, you know about technology, you know about marketing, you know about sales. Leverage your strengths. Either you come together or you provide services to one another, either for a fee or for a stake in the business. Leverage the church to tap into these opportunities. Again, in the midst of the challenges, that is where the opportunities sit. Please. And you have the talent already. I'm not coming here to tell you what I think you should go and get. I'm saying that you have what it takes to start and to grow. Thank you very much.